Hello, welcome to assignment B5 in our COVID research project unit. Today you are compiling your data. That is your job for the next few days, is going to be taking all of the information that you found about our commonalities that we were looking for depending on the countries you selected and compiling it into a similar format as everybody else, because the end goal is to have every country have a sheet that looks something like this, right? So every person is doing two countries where you've kind of been comparing them. And now you will be sharing your two countries, one of these pages for each country. So you'll have to do two of these pages. And everybody's page will look very similar. And that's going to help us with our next part, which will be presenting our countries and then looking at all the different countries that we've looked at and deciding kind of personally which ones have done well, which ones have done bad, which ones you found interesting, and things like that. Kind of doing a takeaway from all the countries you see. So for today, for B5, you'll have a couple days to do this, and your only goal for B5 is to complete these sheets. So let's take a look, right? Your sheet will be in the Google Classroom, by the way, in the stream. What I would suggest is if you click on that, I would make a copy of it. I would make a copy for yourself, one for each country, and then share that with me later when you have to submit it. Because what you're going to do is you're going to, like every other assignment, you're going to submit your work. Like, for example, here is some assignments. So once you submit it for assignment B5, when it's your turn to present in the next assignment, I will just click on your name and your two docs will be there and they'll be on the projector and you can share them with everybody. So let's get back to this. So what do you need to do? Well, the first thing you need to do down here, and do this, I'm just showing you on a paper because it's easier to show. Sometimes it's hard to see the screen. But you should be typing all of this. No handwriting, none of that. It's going to be a typed doc. And the other thing is it has to be fit on one page because I might want to print all of them. Notice that the page is a large size. It's 11 by 17, and that's how I've set it up in the document for you. I've set it up on 11 by 17 format paper, so you might have to work with that, and I can print that out for you on a better printer if we decide to print it. So put your country name, and then by you, I'd like a picture of the flag of the country and a picture of a world map or an area map showing where that country is on a map, because some people aren't too familiar with all the countries. We've got a very diverse group of countries here. So the country's location on a map, world or regional, so we can tell where it is, and the country flag. Now, you might have to shrink or kind of reduce these or play with the formatting of this section, but don't make it take up too much of the page. Likewise, here you can reduce the font size or get rid of extra spaces as you need it. Make sure that everything fits on one page, though. So you might have to do some formatting of your own, but everybody's page will look similar, right? We'll all have this table. So once you get that done, how many cases per million with a note on it? Your takeaway, what you found interesting, anything, if that's high compared to others, if that's low. And your note might reflect the next section here, which is your grade. Give them a grade out of 10. 10 out of 10, they did very well in this category. 1 out of 10, they've done very poorly in this category. And your note probably will tie into your grade. And just a simple note, a sentence or two maximum, not a whole lot, because remember, you're going to be sharing this with the class and we want to get through this kind of quickly. So cases per million, note, grade. Deaths per million, note, and a grade. GDP per capita, I added this one in, and you can find that with a quick Wikipedia search. I'm just looking at how wealthy they are per person in that country. So for this one's a little bit different, GDP per capita. You might have to put a note about where their world ranking is, right? You might want to say where their world ranking is here. And then their grade would probably be out of 10. You know, if they were in the upper percentage of GDP capita or if they were in the lower percentage, that's how you'd adjust your 1 to 10 grade for that. Tracing policy, describe it, any notes, and a grade on how they did with tracing. What was their testing like? Explain the situation. You might not have notes there, but if you do, that's okay. And a grade. Trust in government. Notes and a grade. Travel restriction policies at different times. And notes. For these sections here, right? Testing, trust in government, travel, lockdowns, mask policy, and gathering. You might want to combine those. You might not have notes. Your whole thing might be a note, kind of, right? But you'll have some hard data and some takeaways, and then grades in each of those categories, right? I left a blank one here. You can delete that if you need to, because I just left an extra space, so you can delete that column, and it might give you some more room at the bottom. And then you're going to get to the bottom section where you're going to put any additional notes. And if you don't have anything extra, maybe there's something that isn't covered in here that you found very interesting, something that might explain why the country is behaving the way it is or how that country is doing that isn't necessarily in this data. That's why I've given you this little extra area to give you additional notes if you need. If you don't, you can just delete that. I'm not going to punish you, but there might be something cool that you want to share with us. Then you can give an overall grade for 10 out of 10 and a rationale. A rationale means like your explanation of why that grade was given. And I want maybe a sentence or two at least about that. So the grade would be out of 10. And then a rationale, 2 to 3 sentences explaining why. And a prediction for how that country is going to do in the future. Now, obviously, if we are watching or doing this project after COVID, in a post-COVID world, you're not going to have a prediction for the future. Duh. So, but for now, where we're at right now, you should have a prediction. So, your only goal today is to compile this sheet. Country, flag, location, all of these. Remember the notes here. You might not have notes. You might just have kind of notes per category here, so you might want to combine these cells. And everybody has to fit on one sheet, and it should all look very similar to this because this template is what we're going to use to share amongst each other later. And I want it all on one sheet so I can print it if I'd like to. Remember, you need to do one of these for each country. You have 2 countries, so you'll do country 1, and then, of course, you would do country 2. And don't do it on paper. Do it digitally. Submit it to me so that when we get to the next assignment, B6, which is sharing your findings with your peers, you'll have these documents ready in my file so I can put them up on the projector for you to share. So that is where we're at. We have 2 more assignments and then we are done this unit. I'll give you a few days to work on this and then we'll move on to sharing our findings with everyone else. Thank you.